A marathon without changing your shoes or socks at least once. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up like this guy who ran 100 miles without changing a single time.
Oh, the Pinkies. Oh, how do you dude?
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, man, you guys new to the channel, let me break down what we do for you guys today, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Seek the truth.
Dirty facts about history that they'll never teach you in school. Part A.
Talk about it.
Pocahontas was 12 years old. She would entertain white colonists by doing cartwheels without wearing any clothes. This is actually one of the few things we know about her that's indisputable thanks to so many written accounts. From the 40s to the 70s, many Ivy League colleges, including Yale, Harvard, and Princeton, required all incoming freshmen to have nude photos taken of them. Administrators claimed it was to gauge the rate of diseases like rickets and scoliosis, but many believe the true reason behind them was much creepier. Most of the photos have since been destroyed, but thousands still remain in the Smithsonian's possession. In 1940, Walt Disney hired 11 little people to dress up as Pinocchio and wave to people at the movie's premiere. He left them on a theater balcony with enough food and wine for the day, but there was no way for them to get down. By late afternoon, they had all taken off their thick, sweaty costumes and were naked, drunk, and swearing at innocent parents and their children.
Hey, man,
This father's reaction after being confronted of trying to force his daughters, who are now deceased, to marry older men is absolutely disgusting. If you want to watch the prison interview plus learn the details of the story, head over to my YouTube channel. It's all there.
Wanted the girls to be wed in arranged marriages in Egypt, right?
As arranged marriage now, this is big story because some people, they don't know what that means. They think we force a girl to marry the man we like, which is wrong.
Amina later wrote about her fears that you intended to, and these are her words, quote, sell them to the highest bidder, to an older man that she did not love in a land that she said she hated.
Okay.
What do you think about
Very
it?
funny. Very funny, really. I'm laughing. Did you see me? I laugh. It's very funny.
Crazy history
No.
we're never taught in school. When Al Capone reached prison, he was diagnosed with neurosyphilis and eventually paroled early due to his limited mental capabilities. Only 3 objects have ever been found in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Pieces of wood, a copper hook, and a ball made of diorite, all discovered in 1872. Chang and Eng Bunker were conjoined twins who were brought to America at 18 years old to perform in a freak show. They escaped and settled in North Carolina, becoming U.S. citizens, owning slaves, marrying sisters, and producing 21 children together. 3 men escaped Alcatraz in a raft made of raincoats, and the FBI never found them. One man in the Middle Ages wrote a book claiming that witches were stealing men's private parts and keeping them as pets, ultimately leading to the European witch trials. There used to be a branch of the Nile River that ran right by the Great Pyramids. This is charcoal graffiti of gladiators drawn by children that was discovered in Pompeii.
You have to hear
More
this.
you know.
A Missouri man who lives inside of a cemetery actually saw the Grim Reaper. He said that he was in his house watching TV at about 3 o'clock in the morning when he heard a huge crash outside.
Oh my gosh.
Soon after he heard sirens and
I decided to step out and see what was happening. I walked through the graveyard like a dumbass.
Cars,
Damn it, man.
firefighters, and an ambulance arriving. He walked through the
I wish he
cemetery
would've tagged
to
me in
get a
this
better
shit.
view of what was going on. As he looked down from the top of the hill, he saw that it was a horrific car accident, a head-on collision between 2 cars, during which one of the drivers actually died at the scene.
You got it closer
After
to
watching
exactly what I
police
said
and
than the other
paramedics
guy, but
took
he
the
left
look,
out the part where I
decided
scared
to
the
start
cop.
heading home. But then, all of the sudden,
And
he
when
heard
I
something
jumped in,
drop
that was
down
Amber.
from the tree beside
Pulled the
him.
covers
He
up over
went
my
around
head.
to see what it was, and standing right in front of him was a strange, gray, faceless, humanoid figure. His heart jumped up into his throat and he abruptly beelined it back home. He continued to hear this creature behind him, but he never
sort of
looked back.
dumbass.
He got home and immediately locked the doors.
He just debunked the story, man. Like I said, watching these videos together with you guys, Seekers, you always gotta do your own research, man. He just debunked it to us in real time. So, guess that story wasn't true. It's an edit, man. Tell me if y'all expert level at spotting out the edits. I know I can't be the only one.
Let's talk about one of the most disturbing final bosses in video game history. God from Silent Hill 3. The objective of the antagonist in Silent Hill 3 is to birth the new god that Heather Mason is carrying inside of her. In fact, every time you die in the game, the demon behind me named Valtiel revives Heather. They want this new god to be born no matter what the cost. By the end of the game, Heather ends up getting rid of the god inside of her. But before she can deal the final blow, the main antagonist, Claudia here, ends up devouring the god right in front of her, trying to complete the ritual. Except the ritual fails big time. The god is born prematurely, misshapen, and only half-formed, which gives Heather the perfect opportunity to finish it off for good. Fun fact, the face that Valtiel gives God is supposed to look like Alyssa Gillespie.
Whoa. I never knew that. That happened in that game.
The most unthinkable act to her young children. Lamora Williams will spend the rest of her life in prison after she knowingly and intentionally killed her 2 toddler sons by placing them in an oven and turning it on. She was convicted of 14 charges, including murder, in the October 2017 deaths of her sons Kayonte Penn, 2, and 1-year-old Jakarta Penn. Williams contacted police claiming she found her children dead in her Atlanta apartment. Williams reported a stove on Jakarta's head and Kayonte on the floor with severe injuries. Despite Williams' claim that a caregiver was responsible, investigators concluded she had placed the children in the oven the night before. The kids' father, Jadil Penn, called the scene as being like a real horror movie. He claimed Williams' video called him after the killing, showing his motionless children on the ground. Williams was said to have suffered from a long history of mental illness that was brought on by her father's passing when she was 19 and being a single mother of 4. After her conviction, Williams was quickly sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years.
Authorities have stopped investigating the case of a brazen thief who targeted a Japanese nursery school, even though the perpetrator is still on the loose. The crime spree began a few weeks ago when staff arrived to find more than a dozen indoor shoes missing from the cubbies where staff and students change into them before entering the main part of the building, as is customary in Japanese schools. The next day, even more shoes went missing, leading authorities to set up surveillance cameras around the school. And that's when they caught the unexpected culprit in action. Security footage revealed this weasel specifically selecting white canvas shoes, possibly because they were the lightest to carry, and then running off with them into the night. While weasels are known for collecting soft materials to build cozy nests for themselves and their families, this particular shoe enthusiast showed impeccable taste, making off with 22 canvas shoes in total. Although the stolen shoes were never recovered, the children were delighted to learn that their missing footwear might be helping to keep a wild friend warm and comfortable. These days, the cubbies are protected by netting overnight, but the little weasel's shoe shopping spree has become a favorite story at the school. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
This is why you should never run a marathon without changing your shoes or socks at least once. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up like this guy who ran 100 miles without changing a single time.
Oh, the Pinkies. Oh, how do you believe? Dude.
And then committing.
Change your socks, man. That's what we all took from this that clip, bro. You should change it anyway, but definitely, bro. You saw this man in 4K, man. He ran a marathon too, wasn't changing the sock. Guess you can stop, man. Or have something ready, bro. That's insane.
The alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened.
So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 $100 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out, and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok, showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, you know, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false? Part 7.
It's a farce, bro. I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Social media, people, they want you to see things that they control. So you don't really know what's going on behind the picture, man. It's like sleight of hand. It's all a trick. Social media, bro. People seekers, man. Wake up.
79 of some of the creepiest submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a gigantic dragon that is in water in Efteling again. His name is Joris de Draak, which loosely translates to George and the Dragon. I don't know why. This is just the dragon. Where the hell is George? Dutch really makes no sense sometimes. But yeah, this gigantic animatronic is sitting in like this bog, in like this swamp. Someone come get Donkey and come get his girlfriend out of here. If you don't like Shrek, I don't like you. Also, bro's neck looks like a Christmas tree. Here's another terrifying photo of it. Can you imagine falling in this dirty water with this gigantic moving dragon that spits fire? I couldn't. Also, you actually see it when you're on a roller coaster. So you could either see it when you're walking on the path, or if you're on a roller coaster and you go right past it. I'd be screaming for 2 reasons. The video I have doesn't show it in the actual water, but it shows it breathing fire, and it is very creepy the way it moves. So let me know how you would feel if you were to fall in the water, or even just see this thing normally. I wouldn't like it at all.
Me either. It's not really affecting me though. They said some people was creeped out by it. I don't think it really got to me. It's still scary though. That's the edit, man. Come on. We see through that.
There is something, though, that I have to tell you that I have not told you throughout this entire documentary. There's a reason why Nico knows so much about human sacrifice and the power of human blood. I'm gonna let Nico explain all this to you himself.
I went there, and he opened the door, I stepped inside, he closed the door, that's when I pulled out the handgun and I shot him in the face. He fell down and I shot him a few other times in the skull. And it lasted 15 minutes more or less before he actually died because they were small caliber bullets.
That's right, Nico is one of the most famous convicted murderers in all of France, nicknamed the Vampire of Paris because he used to consume human flesh and drink human blood.
I'm Nico, and I was born 52 years ago in Cameroon in Africa. My father.
Liam's case
Whoa.
reminds me of Elisa Lam. There was an update showing the surveillance footage. This footage gives off a very strange and eerie vibe, and people are comparing it to Elisa Lam. His behavior in the footage seems very odd and confusing, similarly to what happened at the Cecil Hotel. In both, something feels very off and unexplained. Also, of course, I'm not trying to make light of any tragedies, like this is really sad, I'm just talking about what's going on. The Cecil Hotel is infamous for its history of unexplained death, criminal activity, eerie events, and this viral footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator before her mysterious death. It's become a symbol for conspiracies and urban legends and just mystery. The surveillance footage in both cases are leaving people wondering what happened before and after the cameras caught the moment, because in both, everybody's saying something is off. Cecil Hotel is famous for all of the history of creepy and mysterious things happening there, and that's why people are really curious about it. In the same way, when a celebrity like Liam starts acting strangely, it catches a lot of people's attention. Do you think something deeper is going on? Hit the plus for more conspiracies. It really helps when you interact.
When I tell
What's
you
going
this
on with
story,
Cecil
the
Hotel?
No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Stillwater. I can't believe I've been making these videos for almost 5 months, and I have not talked about the terror of Stillwater. By the way, I am very sick right now, so if I sound like a frog, that's why. Stillwater is one of the most terrifying things, especially to me, but in general, it is very, very dangerous and filled with millions of microorganisms, including brain-eating parasites. You don't want to ever fall in this. Oh, and by the way, those stairs being under the water like that for I don't even know how long, if you were to go on those stairs, they would immediately break with the weight of your body, and you would crash down and be in that water with all of that underwater stuff. Underwater mechanics, underwater stairs, no thank you. Who wants to go in the Stillwater Ussy? Not me. This is an abandoned pool that I found a picture of. Look at all the lovely infectious diseases just chilling on top like that. Here's some more images to music. How do you feel about all these?
Not I. I will not be going to brain eating amoeba. They need to freaking put like a warning sign or the thing.
When I tell you this story on the No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Should I check that out?
Dangerous man on earth dubbed as the White Masked Man. There is some creepy ass stuff going on in Mexico at the moment. You may have seen this video a long time ago. Now you probably remember at the start of the year and last year when we had the whole urban legend to talk about the Serbian dancing lady. This is quite similar, but there's something really creepy about it. But this guy has actually been in the headlines for quite some time when he broke into the news back in 2023. Now this white man is often spotted around the streets of Mexico just walking around never wearing anything different. He lurks around and has what looks like blood coming from his mouth non-stop. Now you would think this is just a Halloween costume, but he has been wearing this every single day for nearly 2 years now. One night, apparently a young girl was just doing a jog through her town in the evening. She spotted this guy on the other side of the road just stood there, waving, staring. As far as we know, he hasn't actually committed any crimes, but we actually don't know. And many people are saying he's taking a lot of inspiration from the Terrifier. Is this just a guy who is cosplaying, or is it something a lot more disturbing? And what the hell is bro eating?
Yeah, what was in bro's mouth, man? I do not know. It looked like he was foaming at the damn mouth. And it did seem like he looked like Art the Clown. Don't let those other eggs get to his head, man. That's an edit.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This wanted fugitive from an Ohio case 20 years ago was found working as a police officer. The New Zealand airport just put a 3-minute time limit on all goodbye hugs. A couple made guests buy $300 tickets to attend their wedding. This woman ran over her boyfriend while going to couples therapy. A family was told that their daughter had checked out of a hospital, but in reality she had passed away. An Alaska Airlines flight was turned around after the pilot admitted that he was not certified to land the plane. NAI model changed its own code in order to give itself more time. A 3D printed community in Texas is almost finished. A man threatened a Burger King worker after not taking drugs as payment and got 143 years in prison. A Chipotle employee says that their boss chased him out with a gun for not taking out the trash. Utility companies in Louisiana want state regulators to allow them to fine customers for lost profits from energy efficiency initiatives.
That doesn't even make sense.
Were the parents of Kelly Marvera in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One night a house fire broke out and authorities told the parents that their 10-day-old baby Delimar had perished in the fire. And it wasn't until 6 years later that Luce was at a birthday party and saw a little girl named Aaliyah and instantly had a gut feeling that it was actually her child. Luce grabbed a strand of the girl's hair and sent it off to the police for DNA testing, which later confirmed that it was her daughter Delimar. Caroline Correa, who was a distant friend of a family member, was charged and found guilty of kidnapping and arson. She was living with Delimar just 15 miles away in New Jersey. Correa was sentenced to life in prison. Delimar was returned to her real family and now at 26 years old is speaking out in a 3-part documentary to explain what life was like coping with a brand new family.
Someone made a...
Imagine, man, you think your daughter or your child is going through that pain and going at a random birthday party, having a gut feeling, and finding out that, bro, one of your friends took your child. I can't even imagine what that's like, man. This world, some bizarre things goes on.
A Punch-Out style horror game, and it's absolutely free. Let's talk about Porkbound. This is one of the strangest horror games I've played all year, but it actually works. And it really is like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out as a horror game. You play as a young boxer named Aaron who works on his family's pig farm. And not only is he dealing with bullies like here, he's dealing with the death of his brother. But one night, the bullies actually show up to the pig farm to further taunt Aaron. And then everything starts to go wrong. What is happening to the pigs, and why do they look like this? What follows is a series of Punch-Out style boss fights with more and more disturbing looking pig-like creatures. And when I say Punch-Out, I really do mean Punch-Out. The game plays basically exactly the same way, but as you're beating the bosses, there's a greater story to uncover. Now, I do have a full playthrough of this game on my channel if you're interested, so I don't want to spoil the story here, but the game is also free, so I definitely encourage you to check it out for yourself.
Punch-Out?
Talking about the possible serial killer in Grand Junction, Colorado, let me tell you about one of their most infamous murder cases. The Blacks were a picture-perfect family of born-again Christians until November 13th, 2001, when Michael came home to a pool of blood. His wife, Jennifer, and 6-year-old daughter Abby missing. The back door was left open, Jennifer's purse was spilled out on the floor, and her jewelry was missing. But when authorities looked at the crime scene, something was off. If a stranger had broken into their home, why would they leave items of value behind, like guns and cash? And why would they move the bodies in Jennifer's van and return it to the family's garage? In May the following year, investigators start digging through the Mesa County landfill, and after removing 3,000 tons of trash, they find the mummified remains of Jennifer Black, wrapped in a tent and surrounded by trash from her husband's workplace. Michael was convicted for only his wife's murder in 2004, but 13 years later he got a second shot at freedom. It turns out a juror lied on her questionnaire about being a victim of DV. In 2018 he got the same result, life in prison without the possibility of parole. And despite being convicted twice, he refuses to reveal the location of his 6-year-old daughter Abby. It's believed her remains are still...
Disgusting, man. Truly. Be your own blood. Heartbreaking story. That's sad, man. The expert level.
DNA test, which helped solve a cold case and put her grandmother in jail. In June of 1997, the remains of a deceased infant were found inside a campground pit toilet at the Garnett Lake Campground in Michigan. There was a toilet that needed to be cleaned by an employee, so they used a suction hose to try and clean it. That's when they realized that something had been flushed down that was causing it to be clogged, and it was a newborn baby. An autopsy was done on that baby girl, and it revealed that she was full term, so she was around 36 to 42 weeks. They had no identity for the victim, so they named her Baby Garnett. Once the local community had heard about this case, they were looking for answers because they had no idea who could have done this. Unfortunately, this case became a cold case, and they would not find answers until 25 years later. This girl on TikTok named Jenna made a Get Ready With Me video talking about how she had purchased a Ancestry DNA kit. She spat in the tube, sent it off, and got her results. And about a year later, in 2022, a police officer called her and told her that they had reopened a case from about 25 years ago and that her DNA was a direct match to the victim in the case. Police end up taking a sample of Jenna's mom's DNA. With that and Jenna's DNA, they're finally able to solve the case of Baby Garnett. With the information now that police had, it revealed that Baby Garnett was the sibling of Jenna's mom and also the deceased aunt of Jenna. Both Jenna and her mom were aware of this case because it would be rare for someone in the local community not to know about it, and I'm sure that they were very shocked to find out that they were actually related to the victim in the case. In July 2022, Jenna's grandmother, Nancy Growatowski, would be arrested. She would be charged with murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual. The state alleges that Nancy had delivered the baby at her home and did not seek any kind of medical intervention to try and save the baby. Instead, she hid the baby in an outhouse in the campground. In October of 2023, Nancy was released on a bond, but she had to stay home and wear a GPS tracking device. In May of this year, it was revealed that Nancy would stand trial for the case. Nancy is expected to appear for a motion hearing in court on December 12th, and I'm sure we will get some more information soon. This is all the information that is out there right now. I'm going to tag Jenna's account in my caption so you can go check out her video so you can hear the story in her own words. And remember to go get those DNA test kits.
What if I told you that the Church of England banned Christmas in 1647? Well, you can't spell Santa without Satan. So, is Santa Claus really Satan, the devil in disguise? Think about it. Do you really believe people just made up a story about a 350-pound man stuffing himself down your chimney? No. The World Book Encyclopedia admits that this concept originated from the Norse legend of Hertha, a so-called goddess who would appear in fireplaces to bring good luck to the home. A devilish spirit could easily pass through a chimney and a fireplace, right? And it doesn't stop there. Druid homeowners would leave treats, milk, and pastries to appease this god who came down their chimneys. Sound familiar? That's right, it's all about worship. Even today, many religions leave milk and food in front of their idols. Now let's talk about stockings, leaving them out for Santa. This tradition is eerily similar to witchcraft practices, where socks or personal items are used in spells to target the victim. Just like how, as kids, we're told to leave teeth out for the tooth fairy. It's the same trap. So, Yes, Santa will leave you some great gifts in your stockings, for sure. Oh, and here's the kicker. The word Santa is a true anagram of Satan. Yet many people believe Santa Claus is based on a priest named Saint Nicholas. But guess what? That priest never even existed. The Second Vatican Council in the 1970s openly admitted it was all a fabrication. And don't forget, people used to call the devil Old Nick. They're rubbing it right in your face. Some speculate this nickname comes from German and Scandinavian words, starting with Nick, which were used for dangerous supernatural creatures. So, who's really coming down your chimney this Christmas? Follow my backup account and leave a comment for part 2, because there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Ooh.
Imagine finding a rat baked inside your loaf of bread. That's exactly what happened to a woman in South Africa. In August of this year, this woman bought a loaf of whole wheat bread from a local shop on her way home from work. She ate a few slices without noticing the rat, and then one morning she took out the bread from the fridge to make toast and saw this black hair coming out of her bread. As you can see here, the rat is literally baked inside the bread. After an investigation was done, it was stated that this wasn't the first time that someone found a rat inside this company's food. This seems to be happening more often now because something very similar happened to a man in Australia in February when he bought this wrap and then he noticed that he was chewing on a rat. He bought the wrap at a very popular place called Beefy's Aussie World and said that while he was chewing on it, he realized that it was really chewy. So he spat it out and there was an entire rat. I don't understand how something like this could happen, but this man went back to the restaurant and complained, and all the workers were in disbelief. He said that till this day, he hasn't been able to enjoy a meal because he can't stop thinking about the rat inside his food.
Sue them, man. You need to get that money, bro. I'm suing, bro. Imagine you eating a rat and you freaking want a rat so chewy. Boom, it's a rat. See, because how would you guys react? I definitely need to see that down below. I'm suing, man. I'm sorry. Gotta be something.
Guys, parents told you as a kid. Number 1, that if you swallow gum, it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. Yeah, this is false. You would actually just poop it out in a couple days. Number 2, that coffee will stunt your growth. This is false. All it would do is make a hyper kid have even more energy. Number 3, that if you eat your carrots, you will get night vision or better eyesight. Unfortunately, this is false. All it will do is make your eyes more healthy. But if you do eat enough carrots, your skin could turn orange. Number 4, if you keep growing cross-eyed, you'll stay like that forever. Well, this is just simply incorrect. Nothing will happen. Number 5, that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. This is incorrect. Knuckle cracking is actually just nitrogen going into a joint. Number 6, that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Yeah, this chocolate milk came from the same cow your white milk came from. Number 7, that sitting too close to the TV will give you eye pain. Scientists actually studied this and that's not true at all. Nothing will happen to your eyes.
This is the creepy
My
story
whole childhood
about
was a lie.
A girl was on the subway late at night when she noticed a woman staring at her intensely. The woman was sitting between 2 old men. The girl kept looking away, but the woman staring never broke eye contact. It started to freak the girl out. At the next stop, a tall man in a trench coat boarded. He sat down right next to the girl. The woman who was staring paid no attention to the man who just boarded and just kept staring at the girl. Now this really creeped out the girl. The 2 men that the woman was sitting between never once looked in her direction. The girl then pretended not to notice, but each time she looked, the woman was still staring at her. At the next stop, the man in the trench coat got up to leave when suddenly he grabbed the girl's arm and dragged her out of the subway. The doors shut and the subway took off. The girl then started screaming for help, but then the man said, "Calm down. I just saved your life. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that subway." The woman that was staring at you was dead, and the 2 men beside her were holding her up.
Yo, what's up?
Really?
These are the scariest unsolved mysteries in the world, part 1. The Villisca Axe murders. On the night of June 10th, 1912, in the quiet town of Villisca, Iowa, the Moore family returned from their night at church. The 2 parents plus their 4 children, plus 2 kids from the neighboring home that were spending the night, decided to settle down and go to sleep. The next morning, the neighbors found all 8 of them hacked to death with an axe. There were no signs of forced entry, and only 1 child was found outside of their bed. It's believed that the murderer climbed into the attic while the family was at church, and once the family returned home and settled down to rest, he came downstairs and then committed his crime. But get this, the only clue was a pile of cigarette butts in the attic, nothing more than that. There have been several suspects, including a suspicious business partner, an unsuspected lover, and even a traveling preacher, but none for sure. Obviously, this case has been left unsolved for years, but the house is still standing, and it's supposedly haunted by the family who got murdered and the person who murdered the family. But the thing is, you can stay there overnight. What do you think?
I would not stay there overnight. I said, no. It's been that long they couldn't solve it, man. I told you that's like one of my worst fears, bro. You're in a house that big and you don't know who's in it. Nah. That's an added secret.
Normal looking photos with disturbing backstories. This might look like a normal photo of a statue, but the reality is terrifying. The statue is of a girl named Sadako, and she was a victim of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima when she was 2. At 11, she was diagnosed with leukemia with less than 1 year to live. In the hospital, her father told her a story about how paper cranes can grant a wish to whoever makes them. So she set a goal to make 1,000 paper cranes. Unfortunately, she passed away before reaching that number, so her friends finished the 1,000 paper cranes and buried them with her. This next one is even more disturbing. The woman in this photo is Myra Hindley, and the man who took this photo is Ian Brady, and they had taken the lives of more than 5 missing children. What's even more messed up is in this photo, Myra is posing at the gravesite of her victims. Follow for more.
Urban legends caught on camera.
He was dashing across that field.
Part 3. A chimpanzee from Zambia was observed wearing a piece of grass in her ear for no apparent reason. After other members of her group started copying her, researchers soon realized that this was the first fashion statement observed in the wild. In Moscow, Russia, packs of stray dogs have been known to send out a smaller, cuter member to beg for food. They apparently understand that it will be more successful than a bigger, less attractive member of the pack. Here's some incredibly disturbing footage of a raven speaking human.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
I hate it. Octopuses are considered to be the smartest invertebrate animals on the planet. On 3 separate occasions, Otto the octopus caused a power outage at his aquarium by climbing to the edge of his tank and shooting a jet of water at a bright light. He's been seen juggling hermit crabs, throwing rocks at the glass, and renovating the surroundings of his tank.
You trying to get out, bro. Trying to do a prison break, man. I've heard when even octopus like open up the top of something, like when they crammed into something, bro, they can open up the top to it.
Out are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Being buried alive accidentally occurred so often that people invented safety coffins. In the Middle Ages, people used to eat mummies for medical purposes. It's the main reason we don't have a lot of mummies left today. In the United States, there are more vacant homes than homeless people. Did you know that the actress Glenn Close was raised in a cult? The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland used to have real skeletons as props. In 1976, a TV crew realized one of the hanging bodies in the Laugh in the Dark ride was indeed a real body by accidentally breaking it. Women in the 18th century used lead as makeup. This is the first chainsaw. It was invented by 2 Scottish doctors, and it was invented for childbirth. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 4.
Let's go through their head.
Skinwalkers. They are said to be powerful witches and medicine men. They can even change their form to any animal they desire, including humans. But they mainly change into deer, wolves, and coyotes. The scary part is they say if you see one, they can steal your face and even your last scream for help. You might think this is like a folklore or tale. People actually believe these are real. The scary part is there's actual videos of people seeing oddly walking humans screaming help in the middle of nowhere. See, they say skinwalkers pretend to be humans in distress, and if they're calling out for help, they're just trying to lure you in. That's when they take your life and use your voice and your look to catch their next gullible victim. A man's wife wasn't even home, but yet somebody was calling him to come downstairs in his wife's voice.
No, I don't think I will.
shapeshift to look like Rihanna or Beyonce. I'm making a mess, but this look good. I'll be there in a minute. 30 seconds flat. Naked. Very naked. Maybe even Lizzo. Let's light this candle.
What? I noticed she's always eating somewhere when you're seeing those videos, bro. You make me hungry. That's an edit, bro. Like I say, I see any edits, spot them out. Ooh, what the hell? It's like moving back and forth. Oh, what the? Whew. Oh, God, they got me. Hit the Jets just like I would, bro.
The disturbing legends from around the world.
Honey's. Where mermaids originate from, bro?
These are a few dumb things that we all believed as kids. Look, please don't tell me I'm the only dumb child and that you guys also believe this shit, okay? Or else I'm gonna feel really left out.
Okay.
Anyway, let's begin. Number one, believing our parents that when they said if you had food and then went swimming, you would get a fucking cramp. Yeah, that's a load of fucking horseshit. Where the fuck did they get this information from? And why did we believe them? Search it up. It's not true at all. You can eat as much as you want and go swimming, no cramps. Number two, I thought that red ants were bad and black ants were good. That just isn't true though, is it? Like, yeah, obviously red ants are more aggressive, but they don't pose any more threats than black ants do. They're the same! As a kid, I was an idiot, alright? Number three, that whenever it was dark, something was always in the dark out to get us. Whenever we went to sleep, if it's dark, fuck me. Going to pee late at night, fuck me. Being the last one to turn off all the lights, fuck no. Yeah, no wonder kids nowadays have PTSD, man. Fuck me.
Oh,
Number four, okay, this one's probably just me, but I thought doctors couldn't die. I thought because, you know, they knew all about the medical field, they were smart people, they were just like immortals. It's like your parents always made them seem like such heroes. So I always thought they couldn't die, but eventually I realized that they can. And last, but definitely not least, at number 5, please don't tell me I am the only one with this one. But I thought that when people turned exactly 100 years old, that they would die. Okay, look, I was a stupid child. But I played a lot of video games and I thought it was like reaching the level 100, you know? Like, that's the end. Game over. Please tell me I'm not the only one.
Creepy last.
Okay, maybe the last one, it probably got me when I was a younger kid, yeah. You used to think, like, the older you got, 100, that's like, that was the cap limit. Like, you could go past that, man. You was spitting on the last one. I believed in the last one, though, so.
Words people said right before dying. Registered nurse Shirley Smith said that she had a very rich patient who was a true Satanist that was dying of cancer. The patient had upside-down crosses and a Satan's Bible by her bedside. Shirley said that she will never forget what happened. It was the middle of the summer, and yet it was so cold and dark in her room that you couldn't even stand it, even in the middle of the day. She said that it got so evil feeling in there that she had to call a priest to pray with her and her aides before they would even enter the room. When the patient passed away, she had not spoken in over 24 hours. And then all of a sudden, she sat straight up and said, "Satan, take me." And then she fell back on the bed. Shirley said that after she passed, the room got bright and extremely warm. Shockingly, when they moved the patient's body, they had to get rid of the mattress because where her body had been, it looked burnt. And the most horrible
smell was emanating from the mattress cover. Needless to say, Shirley went to confession immediately because she did not want an evil spirit around her. A nurse said that one of their patients had a serious recurrence and had to be admitted. Over the course of several nights, he had become quite upset during rounds. He kept asking for his wallet, saying that he had to pay the ferryman. The medical student on rotation in the department took a quarter out of his pocket and put it in the patient's hand. The patient then dropped the coin into the cup on his bedstand and calmed down. Later that night, he passed away quietly. The nurse asked what happened. The medical student, who remembered his Greek mythology, said that the patient had to pay Karen, the ferryman, to be taken across the river Styx. A nurse said that he was doing rounds at a hospital. There was one two-patient room, and one of the patients was a very loud and confused woman who could be quite a handful. On this particular night, she had a roommate who had passed away shortly before the nurse entered the room. She was DNR, so there was no code blue. When he entered the room, he noticed that the elderly lady, who was usually very loud and confused, was sitting quietly with her hands crossed neatly upon her lap. Something was different, and there was this look of serenity on her face. She asked him in a voice that seemed much younger and clearer than before, "Did you see them, young man? They're so beautiful." He said, "No, ma'am, there's no one else here." She said, "They're right next to you, talking to Mrs. Banneker. The angels. They're so beautiful." He said that he instantly felt every hair of his body stand up, and an electric tingle course up and down his spine. "They're not here for me this time," she said sadly.
Horror movies coming out in 2022 that you probably didn't know about. First up, this movie has a really unique story. It's called The Black Phone, and it's about a boy who gets kidnapped by a masked man and locked in a soundproof room. But then he realizes there's a phone on the wall where he can hear the voices of all the masked man's previous victims, and they're determined to help him escape. This movie was also made by the same people who made Sinister, which is another great horror movie. But next up, we have Don't Worry, Darling. This one's about a 1950s housewife living with her husband in an experimental utopian community until she realizes her husband is hiding a terrifying secret. This movie has an all-star cast. It includes Harry Styles and Florence Pugh, and is directed by Olivia Wilde. I just know this movie is gonna be good. Last up, if you watch the movie Orphan, there's a prequel coming this month. Orphan First Kill is about Esther's first time pretending to be an orphan. Do you remember how they mentioned that the family that adopted Esther before all died in a house fire? Well, this movie is about how all that happened. Follow for more.
You guys know I don't check out scary movies, man, but if any of the seekers seen it, you can tell me down below how they were. That's an edit. You see through that. Okay, they said we're gonna be moving in this video. Is this an edit? That playpen is moving, bro. What the fuck?
This man went to hell for 23 minutes. Listen to how he describes the demons he saw in hell.
I was standing beneath this tunnel, like cavern walls that were sending upward. And all along the cavern walls were demons. Some were only 2 and 3 feet tall. Some were 12 and 13 feet tall. But every one of them were twisted and deformed and grotesque. The most hideous looking creatures. And I noticed there were snakes crawling all over everything. And then I looked and I was standing on a bed of maggots, just solid maggots crawling all over everything and everybody. But remember, Jesus said, where their worm dies not and the fire is not quenched. And he used the word maggot. And Isaiah 14:11 says, where the maggot will be spread under thee and the worm will cover thee.
This is no joke. Hell is a real place. Repent of your sins today and turn to Jesus so you never go there.
Did you see it?
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. The average person walks past 36 murders in their lifetime. During World War II, Japan bombed China with fleas infected with the bubonic plague. Heartbreak can trigger a massive flood of emotions that can cause fatal heart attacks. People's general happiness peaks at 21 and does not reach that level again until they retire. People who stay up late at night have more psychopathic tendencies than those who sleep early.
Really? So if you're a night owl, you're a psycho?
Welcome back to another episode of Animal Facts They Don't Teach You in School. The first animal on today's list is the living alarm clock, chickens. Did you know these egg shitters are more closely related to the T-Rex than they are birds? Yeah, you heard that right. Chickens are pretty damn closely related to the roid lizard. Have you ever wondered why chickens walk around and they always look fucking confused? They're like... Well, that's because the design of a chicken's eyes are A, really complicated, and B, can't really decide what they want to do. That's because both of their eyes do completely different things. One is nearsighted and one is farsighted, and their eyes also see more colors than we do. I would imagine these feathery cocks constantly have a headache. And speaking of heads, a chicken by the name of Mike in 1947 once lived 18 months without a head. First of all, who names a chicken Mike? And second of all, why was he headless for that long? Alright, next animal. One of the very few animals to evolve like a real-life Pokemon, the caterpillar. And I bet you didn't know this, but caterpillars dance to music.
It's right here, but for whatever reason, when you talk,
hello! And unlike most people, caterpillars aren't very picky with what they listen to, because they'll dance to anything if it's loud enough. Studies show that this BBC with hair in all the wrong places will dance to anything loud enough because it associates it with the predator and it's trying to ward it off by wiggling around. I don't eat caterpillars, but I feel like that makes you look more appetizing. Now, previously I mentioned caterpillars evolve, some to moths, some to butterflies. Now, you may think to yourself, that's a pretty good life. A, now you can fly around and get food and avoid predators, and B, you look less like my genitals. But life's not that great when they evolve. The fact of the matter is, many moth species don't live more than 24 hours, and that's because they're born without a mouth. Therefore, they can't eat, and they basically just starve. Their only job is to reproduce. Up next on today's list is an animal that seems to spend most of its life struggling, the sloth. Besides looking like my creepy old neighbor, every time they defecate a third of their body weight. I can't imagine that's an easy thing to do. And aside from releasing demons every time they have to go to the bathroom, it also happens once per week, and it's life-threatening. That's right, every time the animal embodiment of molasses decides it has to go to the bathroom, which is once per week, it climbs all the way down to the bottom of the tree and digs a hole to go into. So now not only are you pushing out demons, but you're also worried about predators. And you can't move very fast in case one comes along. But don't worry, they're not totally useless. Because for some reason, they can hold their breath double the amount of time as a dolphin. Dolphins are about 20 minutes, sloths are about 40. Evolution really handed my boy the shit end of the stick, but for some reason he's a professional scuba diver. And did I mention sloths are basically designed to fall out of trees, up to 100 feet without any injury, and they do it about once a week. Their body has evolved to survive these falls instead of evolving not to fall. My guy seems to work off the same logic as the human population. I'm starting to think monkeys weren't actually our ancestors. Sloths were. All I got. Peace.
That's crazy, especially about the part the sloths, they evolved, you know, to take.
The easiest horror movie characters to survive, part 3.
Here we go.
Now, last time I checked, the reason that the demon transfers is because you're about to see someone unalive themselves. Now, I'm big brain, so why don't I just close my eyes before someone ends up doing that? And I avoid the demon altogether. There's no way he's going to transfer through my eyelids if they're shut. So as long as I don't see someone doing that, I should be good. You then have any version of Ghostface. Now, yes, I know there's multiple Ghostfaces, sometimes 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 1, but they're all stupid. If you really look at these movies and you see how clumsy these characters are, they're just getting lucky. They're not actually making big brain plays. Most of the time you're hitting them with fridges or outrunning them, throwing things down the stairs and they're getting tripped up. They're just normal people. If you find out that there's a mass unaliver in your town and it could possibly be your friend, hop in your car, check the back seat in the trunk, and dip. And if you have to fight them one-on-one, hopefully there's only one, but 9 times out of 10 you should be able to catch a break enough to run away. You then have my boy Jason Voorhees. Now, I'm not talking the 2009 remake where bro is a hunter and can sprint. I'm talking about normal, slow-walking Jason Voorhees. Most of the time, bro's only hanging out at Camp Crystal Lake. Just don't go camping at Camp Crystal Lake. Second, bro walks everywhere. Yes, extremely strong, super strength, inhuman durability. Just don't get in his way. I know I'm making it sound simple, but if you really think about it, in most of the movies, people are messing with him for no reason. Why are you coming back to Camp Crystal Lake? Stay home. Like and follow if you'd like to see a part 4.
Disturbing body facts that
Would you guys survive?
Day, if you have a surgery where your other organs need to be moved around, they might not function a day after the surgery because the body assumes they're just dead. Next, the brain is the last thing to function when you pass away, meaning in most cases you'll hear, feel, and smell your last moments on Earth. And it's possible to die from a pimple. Let me explain. If a pimple gets infected, let's say from you itching it, the infection could get into your bloodstream, causing you to have an intense fever. Then, a few days later, you will start having seizures and vomiting everywhere, so try not to play too much with your pimples. And finally, it's possible to get brain damage from a toothache, because if you have a tooth infection, there's a high chance of it getting to the brain if it's not taken care in time.
Man, I never even knew that. The more you know.
Elephants are the biggest Crashouts in the animal kingdom, and no, that's not a weight joke. These drug merchants can be menaces when they want to be, and whoever decided to lie and make this up actively took names off the census, which the elephants don't need help doing, seeing as the pachyderms pass 10 to 500 people a year, allegedly. Y'all remember that elephant that broke out of a sanctuary, traveled over 100 miles just to life-deprive a 70-year-old senior citizen while she was getting water, and he stayed mad for 100 miles straight. Not only that, he pulled up to her funeral, grabbed her soul-divorced body, and said, you know what, 0 HP ain't enough, I need you in the negatives. Now, a lot of y'all said she deserved it because she was involved in poaching and elephant mafia slit, and yeah, that could be true. She also could have breathed, since sometimes that's all it takes. There's a reality where someone's grandmother got murked completely unprovoked. Got put on a shirt, except the shirt was reversible. Like all males, eventually elephants get to the point where all they want to do is multiply without a calculator. Damn, what's on the camera, did he? The problem is, when they're big enough to want it but not big enough to do something about it, they act out by attempting to off each other. Of course, sometimes they get frustrated when they smell the scent of a female on a baby, leading to them yeeting the baby. He really just Kobe the calf. He's fine though. Now, but the worst Crashouts are the ones we created. So poaching, right? It's usually the older, bigger bulls that get hit the hardest, obviously. Problem is, without those same seasoned bulls, the younger, immature bulls start wilding all the way out. What happens when you get hormonal, teenage, 10,000-pound frat boys with no father figure? Hell if I know. For an elephant, fatherless behavior means turning an angry unicorn from a titan to a whiteout. In the 90s, 3 angsty elephants murked not 1, not 2, not 10, but 63 rhinos got folded by the 3 musketeers of malice. It wasn't until they brought back the older seasoned bulls that the younger males fell back in line. They're chill most of the time, but let them flip that switch and they're editing the census with a backspace button. Still my favorite animal, though.
Hey, man, elephants, they had the definition of a crash out in the animal kingdom, bro. He broke it down for us. I thought they were sweet, bro.
The teacher is going to prison after making a teenager do something absolutely shocking. It was 2023 at South Fremont High School in St. Anthony, Idaho. That November, school teacher Jessica Lawson, age 36, was arrested. The story that would unfold would go on to shock the local community. Jessica was sat in the passenger seat of a car and police spotted it due to a damaged tailgate. And thank God police did stop this car. When officers looked inside, they found the teacher was with a teenage boy. Now, the teenager was actually driving the car, and they decided to get them to pull over and to interview the boy in private. What they discovered was truly disturbing. The teacher had picked the child up from his parents' house. She allegedly gave him alcohol and substances and then had SA'd him. She ultimately made the teenager then drive her vehicle because she was too intoxicated. She was arrested and given 2 years in prison, but she could now be facing more time behind bars. This is for pleading guilty to battery of a child. He's also been given a 20-year no contact order with the victim of this crime.
This doll is so dangerous it's locked in a box. This doll right here is named Robert, and he's the most infamous doll in the entire world. And the story behind him will creep you out. In 1904, a little boy received Robert the doll as a birthday gift. At first there was nothing wrong, like he was just a normal doll. But then the little boy started saying strange things like, Robert made me do it, Robert told me to say this. And this little boy was very well behaved up until this point. He never got into trouble. But now he was getting into trouble every single day at school and blaming it on the doll. One day the family woke up to the little boy screaming on the floor with the doll on top of him with a knife. People even claim to see the doll moving. And now this doll is locked in a box in the Florida Keys. A lot of him that go to visit him think it's fake at first, but then they claim to feel some kind of demonic force once they actually go into the room. There's even a sign that makes you ask him for permission to take a photo. And they say if you don't, you end up having a lot of bad luck after. Do you think this could be demonic?
Animals with shock.
Do you, man? We'll be seeing that Robert doll in a couple of clips, so I think there's merit to those claims, especially about them. They saying how people be taking pictures of them and bad stuff happened to them. That's some dark energy in that robber dog. Well, stay away.
Shocking defense mechanisms. Horned lizard. This small reptile can shoot blood from its eyes as a defense mechanism. It lives in Northern and Central America. The blood contains chemicals that taste bad to predators, helping the lizard escape. Hairy frog. It is also known as the Wolverine frog because it can break its own bones and push them through its skin to form sharp claws when threatened. This horror frog lives in Central Africa.
The fastest things
Wolverine
in the world,
frog?
part 2.
Crazy.
Fastest internet, Singapore, 184.65 megabits per second. Fastest running insect, Australian tiger beetle, 5.6 miles per hour. Fastest woman, Florence Joyner, 22 miles per hour. Fastest helicopter, Boeing V-22 Osprey, 351 miles per hour. Fastest spacecraft, NASA's Parker Solar Probe, 93 miles per second.
This woman passed away a few hours after this photo was taken when she flew to Turkey for a mommy makeover. 38-year-old Cadell Brown flew from the UK to Istanbul with her sister Leanne, and she had a procedure done at Clinic Expert. Her procedure included a tummy tuck, liposuction, and BBL. The entire process leading up to the surgery was perfect. They even offered a discount for Cadell, and that's what made her want to do her surgery here. But things took a turn a few hours into the surgery when the doctor came out and told her sister that Cadell was dead. This is the doctor that performed her surgery, and she said that with these types of procedures, it is very high risk. Now, you would think that things could not get worse, but when Cadell's body was brought back to the UK, the coroner told her family that large parts of her organs were missing, such as her brain and her heart. During an interview, the sister said that legally they couldn't do anything and that the clinic was allowed to take the organs if they wanted to.
They returned a body, they'd kept pieces of her heart and her intestines. How hard was that to hear? Better. I don't think it was allowed, but they said it's legal, they can take what they want. I thought you'd have to ask at least permission from family before you took anything, but they sent a death certificate straight away and just put no, there's not even a cause of death.
But a lot of people believe that her organs were removed to sell them.
I mean, we've heard how organs are very valuable, so that's definitely a possibility, man. People be risking their lives, man, when they be getting these BBLs and things like that. To me, it's not worth it at the end of the day, because something like that can happen. Tragedy. Edit. Call them out, man. Like I said, if I see you there, just call them out.
Just agreed to be euthanized. Former Royal Air Force engineer Pete Scott and his retired nurse wife Christine have signed up for a double SUI pod in Switzerland, where voluntary assisted SUI has been legal since 1942. The pair made the decision after 80-year-old Christine was diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia. Married for 46 years, they plan to die peacefully together in each other's arms with the help of the sarcophagus pod. This controversial death capsule works by replacing air with 100% nitrogen, which quickly renders the occupant unconscious and fully stops their breathing within 10 minutes, resulting in a swift, painless death. As stated by Pete, we have had long, happy, healthy, fulfilled lives, but here we are in old age and it does not do nice things to you. The idea of watching the slow degradation of Chris's mental abilities is horrific to me. Obviously, I would care for her to the point I could not, but she has nursed enough people with dementia throughout her career to be adamant that she wants to remain in control of herself and her life. Assisted dying gives her that opportunity, and I would not want to go on living without her.
The dumbest conspiracy theories on Earth that people actually believe.
Break it down.
So, let's take a look. The moon doesn't exist. Right. Yeah, sure. People believe the moon is a hologram that's projected into the sky every night. What? Oh my days. Now, I'm sorry. The dinosaurs built the pyramids of Egypt. Yeah, I bet they did. Who is writing these? What? It says that it was written in the Old Testament that dinosaurs helped the Egyptians to build the Great Pyramids. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Lizard people are running the world. I'm not being funny, mate. This isn't Spider-Man. What? No. Approximately 12 million people in America believe that the government is made out of lizards. Guys, if you're watching this video, what are you doing? What are you doing?
They might be mad to the lizard ones, though. I've
Here
seen
are some
those
humans
clips.
that have actual superpowers. So Stephen Wiltshire is an autistic artist who can draw an entire cityscape inclusive of all architectural details from his memory after only seeing it once.
A loose goat returned home with a medal after he accidentally joined a half marathon over the weekend, and his owner only found out when she woke up to find social media flooded with photos of her goat in the middle of the race. Joshua the goat lives at a pumpkin patch in Conception Bay South, and the route for the town's very first Trailway Trek half marathon went right by his home. Mr. Joshua is a very friendly little guy, and he's used to following people around while accompanying his family on walks. So when he saw people running by, he must have thought it was a cue for him to join. Fueled by adrenaline, Joshua managed to escape his pen and started keeping pace with the runners as if he were a trained athlete. Volunteers tried to contain him, but Joshua was determined to run his race, dodging anyone who tried to stop him. Meanwhile, Heidi Taylor, the owner of Taylor's Pumpkin Patch, had no idea that Joshua had made his own morning plans until she happened to check social media and came face to face with dozens of photos of her goat mid-marathon. She used the post to track his location and showed up with his favorite snacks, which finally enticed him to take a break. Once he was secured on a leash, Heidi took Joshua to the finish line, where he was presented with a medal for finishing first place in the goat division. Joshua ran an estimated total of 3 miles, but in the eyes of the locals, he was the race's undisputed champion. He's now back home, resting after his big day. And Jen and I post something positive every day.
This is what the perfect human body looks like according to science. And yes, women would have bloody baby pouches. A group of anatomists wanted to see what a person would look like if the human body evolved for peak functionality, and then took inspiration from other species that do things better. So firstly, the human 2.0 would have a sturdy chimp's lower back and the shock-absorbing legs of an emu. Just posing it here for all my feet people out there. Rare. To improve blood circulation, she has tiny pumps in her groin. I'm not hearing anybody else. Senses would be enhanced by having supersized eyes and the ears of a cat. Apparently titties are a flaw and had to go. Alright. Inside, we'd have the reliable heart of a dog, the graceful lungs of a swan, a choke-proof windpipe. And to ensure a pain-free childbirth, women would nurse their babies in a marsupial pouch. So the question is, if this is what the perfect woman would look like, what would change for a man?
That's like it looked like a freaking human hybrid mixed up with just different animals combined. What were those? That's what the perfect, I guess they said evolutionized human look like. It's gonna look like in a couple of years. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's a head
An
turner.
animal that doesn't die? Giant Galapagos tourists can live 150 years old. There's a quahog named Ming that was 500 years old. But this fascinating creature doesn't die. Tiny jellyfish are known as biologically immortal. If adult's injured or can't find food, folds in on itself and turns back into a larva. Like a butterfly back to a caterpillar. So do they just live for millions of years? Still dies if it gets eaten.
Wow, what the hell? That was a freaking pretty sick evolutionary cycle. It could turn back to a larva ball, I guess, to make food. That's
Let's try to
interesting.
guess the religion of these YouTubers. Mr. Beast, I feel like he's Catholic, no? He's gotta be a Christian for sure. I know Chandler definitely is. Agnostic, really? I wouldn't expect that. Speed is Christian for sure. Not sure which denomination, but definitely Christian. Yep, there we go. Same with Kai. I feel like a lot of the streamers are religious. Yep, there we go. PewDiePie. Well, he's European, so I feel like there's a decent chance he's Christian. But he's a curveball, and he lives in Japan now, so maybe like a Buddhist. No atheist, really.
Okay.
Markiplier's a curveball to me. I feel like he could be anything. Maybe like agnostic for him. A-religious. So what's that, like non-religious, basically? Aiden Ross is Jewish for sure. Yep, Jewish. And then, I know Ryan Tran's like a converted Christian. He's big into God now. Yep. Alright, nice.
Things humans weren't meant to see.
Okay. Did any of those YouTubers shock you? I ain't gonna lie, we're gonna have to call Cap on this, man. It's a good edit though, but yeah, I'm calling cat. Yeah, that's cap. Like I said, if y'all see anything that's cap, bro, I need y'all help call it out so we can learn together, man. This should be trending worldwide of footage like this actually got out. Wait, what the heck? Looks like a damn dog.
Things that only 0.01% of people can do. Touching your nose with your tongue. Yeah, I can't do it. Apparently some people can't just raise one eyebrow. I think I can do it. And apparently some people can't cross their eyes, and I'm pretty sure I just did it. Sneeze with your eyes open. Okay, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. Apparently rolling your tongue is super rare. So apparently I'm a rare person. Apparently some people can bend their hand upwards. How is that possible?
People who turn themselves.
Can any of you guys do that, bro? I couldn't do none of that.
To animals. Toko-san. A Japanese man has spent 12,000 pounds on a hyper-realistic costume to fulfill his lifetime dream of being an animal. He commissioned Subred, a company that makes costumes for TV adverts and films, to produce his bespoke costume took them 40 days.
The world's first human dog.
Did you know there might be a dead body in the cargo space of the next airplane you fly in, and you wouldn't even know? Hello, and welcome to Not So Fun Facts, a series where I tell you unsettling facts. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, dentures were sometimes made out of dead soldiers' teeth. As you can imagine, they didn't last very long. Have you ever felt something so cold that it felt hot? Some people who die of hypothermia are found naked because as their body temperature drops, they start to feel burning hot and take off their clothes, leading to an even quicker death. Like and follow for more.
There was something evil in this woman's room, because it looked like her dog was telling her she saw something that her owner couldn't. A woman in Sydney was woken up at 5 a.m. by her dog, Coda. She started shaking uncontrollably and looking at something that was in the room with them.
She's shaking. It's like you're in a defensive position.
The woman kept looking to see what it was, but she couldn't see anything. But strangely, Coda was on the fence the whole time.
You can see it's trying to protect its owner. Dogs can see the spirit.
In the bed, keeping her eyes on whatever was there, aggressively growling at it. What exactly did Coda see in that room? And what would you do in this situation? Let me know what you think.
I'm getting the hell out the roof.
She's known as the most haunted doll in Iowa and one of the most haunted dolls in the United States. It's said that Ginger is possessed by a demon. People have seen her move by herself. She's been recorded jumping off of tabletops, and people have watched her pick things up. Nobody knows what type of a spirit is inside of Ginger, but she's kept locked in this box because people are so afraid of her. Look into her eyes, and you might see a demon. The full video of us investigating Ginger at the haunted Malvern Manor will be out this Wednesday on the Paranormal Files, my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio.
Robert got some competition, bro. Robert versus Ginger. Who gonna win? Haunted dolls.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're most likely giving you a bad deal, and you should just walk away.
If a person is trying to intimidate you, stare at their forehead with a blank expression. This will psychologically make them self-conscious. Chewing gum when you're nervous really does help because your brain thinks, I'm eating, so I must not be in danger. If you want to know if someone is interested in what you're saying, cross your arms. If they cross their arms too, this is called mirroring, and it actually means they're interested in the conversation. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day, you'll see this item out of place, and you'll remember why you put it there. Finally, if two people are arguing, stand in between them and eat something. It'll help alleviate the tension.
Really? I've seen that a couple of times before. I wonder why people did
Things
that.
almost no humans can do, apart from not shot, and if you can, then you're bloody weird. This is where you bend your thumb back onto your hand like that. Only 1% of humans can actually do this. Try this video if you can do it.
I can't. You guys try.
Humans were never meant to see. They strapped a camera on a shark, and look what it captured.
Hold on. Shark GoPro?
You can see the camera is attached. Now, as the shark goes deeper in the water, you won't believe the shocking sighting it caught. Wait for it.
What it saw?
Now look closely.
You guys see it? Oh, that's like look like a big hand. What the fuck?
Here it comes.
Oh, I thought we already saw it. What the fuck?
Is that a mermaid?
If kids' drawings were real,
Mm.
easily one of the most creepiest videos I think I've ever looked at. I mean, the one I think terrifies me the most. Just strange, distorted faces, man. Gosh, this is like nightmare fuel. And the cat.
It is. It's pure nightmare fuel, bro.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is how many lives of politicians were ended in Mexico just in the first half of 2024. Any country in blue on this map used to display people at zoos. This map shows air quality in Europe. Dark blue is the cleanest air, and red is the air that can cause problems. This map shows every nuclear power plant in the world, with green being operational, red being shut down, and blue being under construction. In the state in red is where a popular adult entertainment website has been banned as of July 1st. This map shows where all of the pirate attacks have been located in the 21st century, with red being the very hot areas. There are 1 billion people in each individual color on this map. This map shows the topography of Peru, and this map shows the topography of Germany. These are the hottest temperatures that have ever been recorded in every U.S. state. This map shows which gender has the highest BMI on average. The red countries are where more women have a higher BMI, and the blue countries are where more men have a higher BMI. And yellow is just equal.
I saw a lot of red, bro. And blue. Man, you gotta do better, bro.
Let's talk about some of the craziest true crime documentaries that are coming out in October.
Talk about
we're gonna get some of the best of the year. The Menendez brothers are getting a documentary on Netflix where they're actually going to tell their own story. This is, of course, coming on the heels of the Netflix Ryan Murphy show about them, but in this one, they're actually interviewed. Also, I'm Kaylin, and I love giving recommendations if you want to follow along. And then 2 days later, we're actually getting a Scamanda documentary on Hulu. That's the story of how Amanda Riley scammed people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by pretending to have cancer. It was originally a podcast, and so was Sweet Bobby, which is also getting a documentary this month. It follows one of the craziest catfishing stories I've ever heard, and you kind of just have to see it to believe it. And this one's kind of crazy, but there was a Chris Brown documentary kind of made in secret called A History of Violence. It's going to be on Hulu, and it was actually made by the people who made Quiet on Set earlier this year. And then in time for spooky season, Disney Plus is putting out Witches, The Truth Behind the Trials. It promises to tell a kind of unknown history about the witch trials starting back when they were taking place in Europe. And then the one I'm probably the most excited for is a Netflix doc called This Is the Zodiac Speaking. It's a 3-part docuseries that apparently really focuses in on one suspect in the Zodiac case. Which ones are you going to be watching this month?
The Brittany Poser.
You guys gonna check that out?
I think it's safe to say this might be the best horror movie of this year. You literally have Art the Clown unaliving a Santa Claus with a chainsaw. He's then gonna wear his suit. Well, with the fact that Art the Clown is finally coming to a video game. He's going to be in Call of Duty in the next couple days. He's finally starting to get the recognition he deserves. With that, here's every theory in my own theory for Terrifier 3. Starting with my own, at some point Sienna's going to be going to the Ninth Circle of Hell, aka the first spot Art the Clown took his victims in order to get immortality. She's going to go there and either sacrifice herself or someone else, or put something up as fodder in order to get Art the Clown off of Earth. Then I have a theory online speculating that the final girl from the first movie is going to be possessed by a demon and trying to unalive Art the Clown with Sienna and her brother. Now that made sense to me for a while, until I took another look at the original photo that came out for this movie. She's with Art the Clown sitting on top of an unalived Santa Claus. Is Art the Clown the demon that's possessing her? I think that's a massive possibility. It's that strong. I've also been seeing theories online that this is young Sienna, and her first time seeing Art the Clown. She was over at her friend's house or at a sleepover during Christmas time. Art the Clown came in and unalived everybody's parents, and that's where his obsession with her started, hence the reason he's all about her. Me personally, I genuinely have no idea where this movie's going. All I know is it's going to be absolutely insane, and the first 5 minutes are going to shock everybody.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is a prediction of what the world is going to look like 250 million years from now. These are the CO2 emissions across the Indian subcontinent, with the lightest, whitest areas being the highest.
Damn.
This map shows all of the foreign military presence that is sitting in Africa right now. This map shows the most valuable Italian brands and where exactly they came from. If you draw a straight line between the northernmost point and southernmost point in the contiguous United States, along with the westernmost point to the easternmost point, the lines do not intersect. This map shows what the size of the Great Lakes would look like if it was in Europe. This map shows which state you could find the highest percentage of people with ancestry from every European country. This map shows where every popular sitcom took place. Every red dot on this map is a football pitch or a soccer field if you're from the United States. This map shows that in 1990, most of the United States had 15% or less obese adults in their state, where less than 30 years later, now almost every state has more than 25% obesity rates.
The deadliest game show I bet you've never heard of. The show was called The Chamber, and only 3 episodes aired before it was canceled. Why cancel it so soon? Well, they literally tortured the contestants. The game was rather simple. In the pre-game face-off, 2 contestants would go back and forth answering questions. The winner moved on to the main game. The loser was sent home packing. The main game is where you would enter into the chamber. You were offered a $500 buyout if you didn't want to go any further, but nobody took it. When you entered the chamber, you would be strapped into a chair and hooked up to electrodes, muscle contractors, and medical equipment. And then a computer would choose whether you got the hot chamber or the cold. Once the chamber was sealed, the game began, and your goal was simple. Answer as many questions as quickly as you can while surviving the environmental torture that was thrown at you. In the hot chamber, they could increase the temperature up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Simulated earthquakes would also shake the chamber, going up to a 9.5 on the Richter scale. The more you progressed, the more the muscle contractors would activate. The chair would move back and forth, up and down, and rotate in complete circles. They would even drop the oxygen levels in the chamber, as well as blasting you in the face with winds up to 140 miles an hour. The cold chamber was equally as torturous, honestly if not worse. The temperature could drop to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. In the cold chamber, instead of rotating the chair, they would be sprayed with water jets, causing ice to form on the players. The game would end in a few different ways. If you answered 2 questions in a row wrong, you were out. If the medical team felt you were going to pass, you were also out. You could also yell "stop the chamber" to forfeit, which, surprise, surprise, nobody did. A total of 6 episodes were made, and the 3 unaired episodes reportedly had an insect chamber, an electric shock chamber, and a water torture chamber. The most you could have won on the show was around $120,000. The most anybody ever actually won was $20,000. That person, Scott Brown, got through all 7 levels of the cold chamber and was actually hospitalized afterwards. He then sued Fox and won $100,000.
Okay.
Here are some celebrities with the most kids, except each time it gets bigger.
Alright.
Robert De Niro has 7 kids from 4 different women spanning decades. The youngest and oldest have a 51-year age gap between them. Alec Baldwin has 7 kids with his current wife and 1 daughter with his ex-wife, making a total of 8 kids. Clint Eastwood has 8 kids, with the oldest being born in 1954 and the youngest being in 1996. NFL player Tyreek Hill claimed that he has 10 children, but the true number is unknown because at one point, 3 different women all came forward claiming the that they were pregnant with his kid, all within just 4 months. Eddie Murphy has a
Damn.
confirmed 10 kids with 5 different women, with the oldest being 34 and the youngest being 5. He keeps a good relationship with them all, and when he returned to SNL, all of them were in the audience. Nick Cannon is well known as being a professional breeder with 12 kids with 6 different women, his oldest being twins with Mariah Carey. And some of these names are quite interesting, like Powerful Queen Cannon, Beautiful Zeppelin Cannon, and Rise Messiah Cannon. I think he's running out of names. Bob Marley has 12 different children with 8 different women, 3 of them being with his widow and the rest being with various Jamaican women. And half of the kids all pursued music themselves. Before DMX passed away, he had a whopping 17 children with 11 different women. I guess you could say he really does have that dog in him.
This is the show.
Got that dog in him, bro. That's what they say, man. But that's just freaking crazy, bro. I kept increasing. I don't see how some people do, man. Especially Nick Cannon, bro. I saw a meme, bro, of him. There's like how Nick Cannon be on Father's Day was Lucius Fox. Look at all the screens of the Dark Knight, bro. I'm just like, that's the same amount of kids. But hey, to each their own, I guess.
Truth behind Moana. Lilo from Lilo and Stitch is actually Moana. She actually died at the beginning of the movie Moana, in the scene where her boat crashed and her leg gets stuck under a piece of coral, drowning her. And this is the reason why she's able to communicate with her dead grandmother, and also explains why she's able to follow Maui, who's a demigod, into the underworld. Maui is her guardian angel, and his task is to take her to Tahiti, which represents heaven, and the whole movie is her journey to the
creepy urban legends that turned out to be true, part 2. A construction worker knocks down a wall only to discover a bare skeleton staring back at him. Well, in 2011, while renovating the second floor of a bank, workers discovered the bones of Joseph Schecksnyder, who had been missing for 27 years. It's believed that he may have gotten stuck in the chimney after attempting to break into the bank all the way back in 1984. An old woman was buried after being declared dead, after which the body was exhumed, only for the family to find scratch marks on the coffin lid, among other signs of attempted escape. And as it turns out, premature burials were actually somewhat common in the 19th century. In fact, over 200 separate incidences were documented of people being buried alive during that time. Remember, the medical profession during that time wasn't an exact science.
5 signs you might
That's
be
insane.
genius. You talk to yourself. Albert Einstein was often found talking to himself. You worry a lot. Isaac Newton was a chronic worrywart. You have social anxiety. Charles Darwin had debilitating social anxiety. You're a night owl. Nikola Tesla only slept 4 hours per night. And you're a dreamer. Einstein's theory of relativity came to him in a dream about cows. Follow for more.
You were genius seekers? Tell me down below.
This is why you should never stay in sketchy motels. In 2005, a young woman on a solo road trip across the country decided to stop for the night. The first place she sees is the Mountaintop Motel. It looked pretty cheap, but she was tired, so she said good enough. The check-in guy eyed her up and down very uncomfortably and then asked her if she was traveling alone. She ignores the question, pays for her room, and then walks away with the key. When she gets inside her room and sees there are literally cockroaches in her bed, she says nope and decides to sleep in her car in the parking lot. Around 3 a.m., she wakes up to see the check-in guy using his own keys to get into the motel room she was supposed to be in. A few minutes later, he storms out and slams the door and starts walking towards her car. Terrified, she hides under her blanket as the man tries to open her car doors but can't and walks away. She speeds off and calls her friend and asks her to look up the address of Mountaintop Motel so she can give it to police. Her friend's quiet for a second and then just says, "The Mountaintop Motel closed a week ago."
Where was she at, bro?
Deep web footage that got leaked.
I'm gonna have to call edit on this one. You guys know we're getting better at spotting them out. If you see any edits, man, comment down below. That was definitely an edit. I'm gonna have to call cap on that one. We're getting better and better at spotting them seekers, man, with each and every single video. I'm glad you guys have been catching on too. Like I said, we update our knowledge base together. Another one, man.
Normal-looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. The girl in this photo was arrested for torturing and killing animals. She filmed herself doing it and even posted it online. She hanged her dogs by their collars, nailed them to walls, and even shot them with an airsoft gun. She would then cut them open and rip out their internal organs. This sweet-looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows two murders after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
This is an actually true, real medical fact that sounds completely fake, but it is actually really true, I promise. Sometimes, babies are born without a butthole. There is a condition called imperforate anus, which is as scary as it sounds. This happens at birth, where sometimes the hole can be blocked or missing altogether, and sometimes the rectum could connect to the colon and lead to different openings, which cause some stool to come out of other areas of the baby. If my baby started shitting out of its dick, I'd be calling a fucking exorcist instead of the doctor. Luckily, it is treatable, and to put it simply, the baby's given an artificial or enlarged hole and given a colostomy. This allows their stool to drain into a bag that can eventually be removed in a few months. What's even crazier about this fact, though, is that it's actually incredibly common with every 1 out of 5,000 babies. To put this in perspective, over 10,000 babies are born a day just in the United States alone. I'm not the best at math, but that's at least 2 babies per day born without a butthole. And to put it even more in perspective, the average NFL stadium holds 60,000 people, which means at least 12 people in that stadium have...
This is why you should never live next to crazy people.
That's a crazy
In
fact.
2015, a girl who was totally fed up with her noisy neighbors finally worked up the courage to go over there and tell them to be quiet. She knocks on the door, and out walks this insane-looking old woman who just starts hissing at her. And she doesn't stop hissing at her until the girl finally just leaves. She considers calling the police, but ultimately just goes back to her room and goes to bed. But she wakes up a couple hours later when she hears that same hissing sound. Her first thought is there's no way this can be my neighbor, because she had her door locked. But then she notices there's a big lump right next to her in her bed, and she reaches over to check who it is. Her crazy neighbor leaps out of bed and runs into the closet.
This is proof that we weren't alone. Why does this mountain have stripes?
I kind of do see the stripes on them. It is formed that way? If that's true, then who put the stripes there? That's the real question.
Mutton, and its size was approximately 600 feet tall. The legend is that a group of girls were out playing when they came across gigantic bears. To escape the bears, the girls climbed to the top of the summit and prayed to the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit heard their prayers and caused the rock to rise up from the ground out of the reach of the bears. The bears tried to climb up to get them and dug their claws in the rock to gain grip, but kept sliding down because it was too steep for them to climb. The bear's claws scratched the straight marks that are seen to this day.
You guys believe that story? Or think it's just a completely different explanation? I'm gonna leave that to you guys. What's this? This is gonna be interesting.
Getting attention and stuff is kind of weird. There's no feud, so for us, it's kind of like we just laugh about it because there's nothing there.
You guys are like good friends.
Yeah, we're on an okay level. It's cool.
Are you guys ever gonna do like those dance off that Miley does with the AC/DC?
No, I'm not a dancer, so I leave that up to her.
Selena, the front neck smile. Selena, hold that right there, big smile.
But nah, I heard it's because she had a condition, lupus, so you know that's why she looked like that.
Honestly,
not true. I literally have grown up watching this show.
Okay.
I'm 18 years old. One having phone call. This is a random having phone call, okay? Nothing too serious. If it was serious, I'd call grandma, grandpa, uncle I never got to meet, someone like that. Unserious having phone call. Who are you calling? Personally?
I bet you didn't know these creepy facts that'll probably make you uncomfortable. There are at least 6 people out there that look exactly like you. And there's a 9% chance that you'll meet one of them in your lifetime. The author of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, kept her deceased husband's heart for almost 30 years, until she died in 1851. A year later, his heart was found in a desk drawer, wrapped in a copy of one of his last poems. A book of spells written in the 1500s details how you can actually summon the nun, who is actually a demon named Valak. In the 1930s, a baby fell from a very high up window and landed on a man walking down the street below. Both the baby and the man survived. A year later, that same baby fell from that same window and landed on the same man. Again, they both survived. Dorothy Kinnaman, a panelist on the hit TV show What's My Line, died under mysterious circumstances while investigating the JFK assassination. Shortly before she died, she was quoted telling a friend, "I'm going to break the real story and have the biggest scoop of the century. If you can't get enough of true crime and horror, you should go follow my boyfriend. That way you can have double the true crime and double the horror." He's tagged right here.
That JFK story, man, that's chilling. You know what happens to people, man. Unless who try to expose the truth on like historical events. Sometimes people don't like it when they get too close to it, man. They'll do anything to shut that story down. I wonder what the real truth is about.
The deadliest candy in the world. This powdered candy was banned because it was basically just a jar full of lead. It was called Lucas's Mexican Candy, and it was advertised as a way to spice up your foods by adding artificial lemon flavoring. But most kids just ate it straight from the bottle. In 2004, the FDA discovered that it had twice the legal limit of lead per gram. This prompted a massive panic and recall of the entire stock of this candy, and it remains banned to this day. Like, follow, and share for more strange facts.
Be careful what you eat.
So it looks like it is actually happening. North Korea is reportedly about to send 12,000 troops to Russia to fight on the front lines, and that's according to South Korea's spy agency, who labeled it as a grave security threat. Now, the reason that this is being treated as such a big deal is because up until this point, officially, both Russia and Ukraine have only received weapons from their respective allies, and this deployment from North Korea would mark the first time that a third country is directly getting involved in the conflict with actual troops. And that's a move that Zelensky called the first step to a world war.
One of my favorite Saw traditions is back. For those who don't know, for every Saw movie that comes out, they have a Saw blood drive. It's a partnership with the Red Cross. They did it for the very first Saw movie as a way to promote the film. If you come and give us some blood, we give you free tickets to see the movie. But the original filmmakers saw how successful this was. They saw how many people came out to donate blood, and they decided they wanted to do it again, but just to mostly help people than anything. And they did this for the Saw movies 1 through 8. And by the time Saw 8, aka Jigsaw, finished its promotional campaign, over 360,000 total lives have been saved because of the Saw franchise. I did make a video talking about this back in 2021. Wow, the difference a few years makes. They had to skip over the blood drive for Spiral, I'm assuming because of COVID-related reasons, but now it's back for Saw X, and the posters look so good. They're also advertising all blood types are accepted from all people, which is amazing.
Good way to save people, man. That's actually one of the most cleverest, I guess, promotions tied into a movie I've ever seen.
Here's the truth behind Shrek. Okay, who remembers the scene in Shrek when the bears are locked up by Lord Farquaad? Daddy and Mommy Bear are trapped together while the baby is in a separate cage. If you look closely, you can see Mama Bear has a pink bow on her head. Later in the movie, you can see Daddy Bear and Baby Bear are free, but Baby Bear is crying. So the question is, where's Mama Bear? Well, here's your answer.
What? You know how many times I watched the Shrek movie as a kid? I never noticed that. The little details in this movie, man. That's crazy. I never knew that. I didn't put two and two together, man. When you're a kid, you don't pay attention to that stuff.
I bet you didn't know this about the world. Part 1. Information travels in the brain at 260 miles per hour. Your hair contains tiny amounts of gold. The ocean contains almost 200,000 viruses. Your mind wanders 30% of the time. Sudan has the most pyramids of all countries.
Wow. We have gold hair, bro.
Here are some Disney Channel stars that went to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Mitchell Musu, who played Oliver Oaken on Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for suspicion of drunk driving. Being only 20, he blew over the legal limit and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Pair of Kings, and his show Prank Wars was cancelled. Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, most recently for armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations, and eventually he was given a 5-year sentence for armed robbery, but he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby, was arrested and charged for manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, but the court suspended 4 years due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the negative consequences of drug abuse. Upon release, he was given 2 years probation and 350 hours of community service.
Never knew that, man. Mr. Mosby? What the hell is going on?
The Bajau people found on the waters of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. It's understood they've retained this lifestyle for around 1,000 years. They spend most of the day diving into the ocean, hunting fish and other sea creatures. But here's where things get really interesting. They can hold their breath underwater for up to 13 minutes and dive as far down as 60 meters. Due to the pressure of the water that far down, some actually pierce their eardrums, which it's actually really bad for them. Some go a good death. Now, the reason they're able to hold their breaths underwater for so long is because they evolved larger spleens in comparison to other humans, providing more oxygen to their blood. Their spleens tend to be at least 50% larger than animals. Isn't that interesting?
These are the world's
mermaids?
Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Kerry Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home. Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift for his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle, known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren. We do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll, because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone. And the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters.
Ooh.
Also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
I wouldn't.
There was a 6-year-old guest at one of Diddy's white parties, and he's revealed everything he saw. Justin Litovsky, now 30, along with his father David Allen and mother Maya, were invited to an afternoon barbecue in 1999. But when they arrived, it turned out that they were actually at one of Diddy's infamous white parties. Litovsky went on to tell the New York Post that he recalled seeing lots of drugs and naked women, but they didn't see people having sex. However, according to Justin's mother, they did leave at 9:30 p.m.
This guy was rated by the FBI for AI generating music on Spotify, and he earned an 8-figure fortune while doing it. 52-year-old Michael Smith of North Carolina is a music producer, or maybe more of just an AI prompt writer in this particular case, because he used AI to generate music, uploaded it to Spotify and Apple Music, and would then send swarms of listening bots to stream the music and get paid for it. Yes, AI generated music streamed by bots. This really is the dead internet theory coming to life. He's currently being charged with wire fraud conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering conspiracy, totaling to a combined maximum of 60 years in prison. But many are quick to point out that he technically didn't break any direct laws, as music streaming fraud isn't a crime. Yet. It is against streaming platforms like Spotify terms of service for sure, but company policy is not the same as the law. He first found out how to send listening bots to his songs on streaming platforms without getting detected back in 2017. But he realized he'd get caught real quick if just a small handful of his songs by an unknown artist got billions of views. So when AI generated music first became a thing, he saw the opportunity of a lifetime. Working with the CEO of an AI music company, he started producing hundreds of thousands of songs generated by AI to send his army of listening bots to, made under thousands of different fake artist names like Callio Bloom, Callus Humane, Callus Ness, Calm Baseball, Calm Innovation, and Calm Knuckles. Clearly AI generated. Even the album art was AI generated. Like, what in the fuck is this? And even weirder song names like Zygophysiae, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce these, in combination with thousands of fake names, emails, accounts, and VPNs to help make his streams look as legitimate as possible. He collected a total of $10 million in royalties from the music streaming giants between 2017 and 2024, racking in over $1 million a year. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a sample of any of his songs anywhere online, as they've all been scrubbed clean from every music streaming platform and website I could find. But let me know if any of you come across them. I'd love to listen me some Callio Bloom and hear just what kind of AI music was topping the charts all these years. Crazy social media.
Goes to show you, man, he was hacking the system, man. It goes to show you, bro, like how like these artists and stuff, the stats and stuff, I guess, on Spotify and Apple Music, how it can be easily manipulated, bro, if they just be sending bots. So you never know whose numbers are real or not. He hacked the system, bro.
Media facts you won't believe. The most liked post on Instagram is an egg. It broke records with over 55 million likes. There's more TikTok users than cars on Earth. In 2022, TikTok surpassed Google as the most visited site in the world. Mr. Beast once opened 300 restaurants in one day. Now what's more crazy than that is that Rode is giving away $250,000 in cash. Plus amazing prices from Rode and their partners like Fujifilm, Atmos, and lots more. It doesn't matter if you're into ASMR, video gaming, or podcasting. You just need to use a Rode product and pick one of 22 categories. Don't miss out on your shot to be part of the Rode Creator of the Year Awards. Head to creatoroawards.rode.com.
We're always told to drink a lot of water throughout the day, but have you ever wondered what happens when you drink too much water? Well, 35-year-old Ashley Summers drank 64 ounces of water in a span of 20 minutes and passed away from water toxicity. Ashley, her husband, and 2 daughters were at Lake Freeman in Indiana when she began feeling dehydrated. So she drank 4 bottles of water because for some reason she wasn't able to quench her thirst. Ashley complained about having a horrible headache and she began to feel lightheaded. When she got home with her family, she passed out in the garage and she was taken to the hospital where the doctor said she had brain swelling. Ashley never woke up and she was pronounced dead from water toxicity. A toxicologist said that this is more likely to happen to someone who's extremely dehydrated, which will cause them to drink too much water and not enough sodium or electrolytes. So remember, bring more than just water on really hot days, especially if you're under the sun for a long period of time. This day...
That's actually insane, man. Someone passed away from drinking too much water. Like she said when we were growing up, it was also, drink water, be hydrated. Man. The more you know, Seekers.
Her owner shot her husband twice after she found this out. Shantiri Weems and her husband James owned this daycare called Kids Castle. On July 2022, a woman whose child was attending Kids Castle approached Shantiri and told her that her daughter was being molested by James. Shantiri lost it, and in that moment, she made her way to a hotel in Washington, D.C. where James was staying at and shot him in the neck and thigh. Shantiri admits that her intentions were to paralyze James because she was just so angry. Keep in mind, Shantiri loved kids and her job, and she wanted this daycare to be something where kids felt like they were safe. And she said after seeing the pain in this mother's face, she snapped. James had contact with 93 children, and most of them rode on the daycare bus with him, which is where most of the abuse happened. And this story only gets more disturbing. James was also a retired Baltimore police officer. But ultimately, Shantiri was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and the judge said that she should have never taken the law into her own hands. James, on the other hand, faces 30 counts of child sexual abuse and assault charges.
There has been a horrifying discovery in Florida. Police have recovered 3 suitcases from the Delray Beach containing remains of a mystery woman. On July the 21st, police received a call about something suspicious in the water. When police got to the scene, they found human remains in the first suitcase and shortly after found 2 other cases. A homicide investigation is underway, and police have revealed this image of what they believe the victim to have looked like. The image also roughly shows what her clothing may have looked like as well. They believe that the victim was killed between the period between the 17th and the 20th of July. She's believed to have been between 35 and 50 years of age. Based upon what they have found, they believe that she was about 5'4" in height. Investigators are appealing to members of the public for any help in identifying the victim. They're also asking anyone who lives in that general area to check their security cameras for anything that might be useful towards the case.
Be careful where you at.
As the Grim Sleeper, responsible for killing between 10 and 25 plus people. Got the name the Grim Sleeper is because apparently he went on a 14-year hiatus, for which he eventually started killing again, which led to him being caught. Deborah Jackson was a mother of 3 in which she was shot 3 times by a .25 caliber gun. He would only kill women. So much of the women that he would kill, he would shoot with this certain gun, which he would shoot them in the chest and he would dump their body. The pattern continued and continued as more women were being shot in the chest and dumped in the alley. Investigators weren't really linking the cases until they realized that the odds that the person is shooting somebody in the chest with the exact same gun. They worked on various leads, looked for various people. For the most part, it seemed like they were just going from dead end to dead end. Eventually, in '87, they got an anonymous 911 call in which a witness claims that they saw a woman's body being tossed into an alley. He shared a license plate of the van and what the person looked like. At the scene, investigators discovered a woman later identified as a 32-year-old Barbara, which she was fatally shot in the chest with the .25 caliber gun. So they have the license plate, so you think, okay, maybe they caught the killer. So the detectives traced the license plate to a van that is at a church, where the keys to the vehicle are very easily accessible to almost anyone.
Damn. They say you went like 14 years between that, man. He never got caught. Well, no, they say they caught him up in the end, but it took 14 years, man. Goes to show you, man. Justice, karma, it'll come to you, man. It may take a couple months, days, months, or years, but it's that energy gonna revert right back to you.
For nothing.
The most disgusting case. Nostalgic Ike. He went to one of the restaurants to buy food and coffee. When he opened the coffee, he found cockroaches' legs.
Hell
He
no.
also returned his coffee to employees, and he got new coffee. But after the coffee was purchased, more cockroaches' feet were in the coffee.
What the fuck?
Bonus photo.
I'm always checking now, bro. Always open that lid up, Seekers. We don't know what's in there. Some crazy info we learning.
Here's the second part of the body cam footage of Chad Dorman, the monster, the so-called father, who unalived his 3 sons in a way that I cannot even describe on here. But before I show you the video, the cop and the way he reacts in this video and how he talks to the suspect is 100% how I would talk to him.
Can you get the wallet out of my back pocket? Shut up, dude. Yeah, the drive remain solid. Fucking either.
There's a wallet for what? It's in his pocket.
Horror movies with the biggest plot twist that you won't see coming. The movie we're talking about today has one of the most unique and insane stories I've ever seen.
Talk
Livid
about
is
it.
a French horror movie about a nurse taking care of an old woman who used to be a famous ballet teacher. The old woman is in a coma, but she's very rich and lives in a mansion. There's also a mysterious key that's always around her neck. So the nurse, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's brother decide to rob her. As it's rumored there's some kind of treasure hidden in her mansion. And they assume the key around her neck opens the door to the treasure. But when they open that door, they find something else. I'm gonna tell you what they found behind the door, so if you don't want to hear it, just click away now. They found the old woman's dead daughter, whose corpse has been turned into a human ballerina statue. Just like one of those ballerinas dancing in a music box. But don't worry, because there's another twist. You'll also never guess how it ends. I thought it was weird and entertaining and just interesting to watch. So check out Livid and follow for more. Earlier this week,
Any of you Seekers watch that?
California opened up a barrel that was on the beach only to find a body inside, and now a homicide investigation is underway. This past Sunday, a maintenance worker at the Malibu Lagoon State Beach saw a black plastic barrel floating in the lagoon and brought it in with a kayak. He didn't open it at the time, but the next morning, a lifeguard on duty spotted the same barrel back out in the lagoon. He swam out and brought it back into the beach, and when he noticed how heavy it was, he opened it to see what was inside. And that's when he found a man's body. The origin of the barrel is unclear, but it's possible that it was brought in with the tide from the ocean. The man's identity has still yet to be remained as well, and homicide detectives are now investigating and have not released many details. However, they did note that the foot did not look very decomposed, indicating that the body may have not been in there very long. Investigators are also looking into security footage in the area to try to determine where the barrel may have come from and who may have disposed of it. Like I said, they have yet to identify the remains, and the investigation is ongoing. But this is just so eerie, and I hope they can figure it out quickly.
What is it, man? They just put bodies on the beaches. I don't get it. What the hell is that? What the hell was she on? She was not acting normal, Seekers, man. The way she just popped up. That was like 10 times more weirder.
What we know about the 4 Idaho students who were murdered in their house. On November 13th at 12 p.m., 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death in their beds in a home that they shared. The victims were 20-year-old Ethan, 21-year-old Kaylee, 21-year-old Madison, and 20-year-old Zaina. Just a few hours before Madison and Kaylee were murdered at 1:40 a.m., they were seen on surveillance grabbing some food from a food truck in downtown Moscow. They then took an Uber home, and at around 3 to 4 a.m., their lives were taken. Ethan and Zaina, who were a couple, also arrived to the home around the same time as Kaylee and Madison. There were also 2 other students in the home while the murder took place, but they were not harmed, and they said they did not hear anything. These students in the home were also not the ones who called 911, but police will not release that information. Police do believe that this was a targeted and isolated attack, but they do not have any suspects at the moment. In my opinion, I think there's a lot more to the story, and I hate to say it, but these attacks seem really random, and this may be a serial killer.
That's a tragic case. The hell was they doing on the gurney? Come on, man, with that ass. Think that one was the edit. You can spot those out, man. Y'all spot out the edits, man. Comment down below, bro. Like flickering on and off, what the hell? Is that an edit too? Like someone's trying to grab it. She just walked away at the end.
This is 28-year-old Nadine Burras, and she was from the UK. In 2012, Nadine decided that she wanted to join a dating website, and she made a profile on MuslimMatch.com. On this website, she met Sami Al-Mahari, and he was posing as a millionaire from the United States. The relationship grew quickly and became very intense. Since Nadine was in the UK and Sami was in the United States, they started a long-distance relationship, and they would be seen talking on the phone for hours until the early morning. In 2013, they ended up meeting for the first time, and later on, Nadine realized that he was lying about his occupation and he wasn't actually a millionaire, he was a taxi driver. Yes, Nadine was upset with Sami, and it wasn't the fact that he wasn't a millionaire, it was the fact that he lied to her all this time. Unfortunately, the relationship quickly became abusive, and Sami would leave Nadine covered in bruises. On December 30th of 2014, Sami had visited Nadine in Cardiff, UK. He went to Nadine's home but got into an altercation with her brother, so he was asked to leave. Sami was staying at a hotel pretty close by to Nadine's home, so that's when he gave her a call and told her that he had actually left his passport at her home and if she could bring it to him. They ended up going to a nearby restaurant, and around 11 p.m. is when they made it back to the hotel. An hour later, Sami was seen at a casino with some fresh scratches to his face. Sami then took Nadine's car to the airport and he took a flight to Qatar. The next day, around 12:20 p.m. was New Year's Eve, and Nadine's body was found in that hotel room. Police had discovered that Nadine's laptop and phone were missing, so that could only mean that Sami had these. Soon enough, Nadine's family were getting text messages from her phone, and this was Sami. He was just taunting them and basically telling them that they were going to be next. On January 19th, 2015, Sami was located in Tanzania. He was arrested and brought back to the UK. Sami claimed he was suffering from abnormality of mental function and that the voice of God told him to kill Nadine. In 2016, Sami was given a life in prison with the minimum term of 17 years before being eligible for parole. If I didn't know this was a true crime case, I would think it was a disturbing horror film. On the morning of the 7th of October 2022, a barefoot woman was running around Excelsior Springs, Missouri, bashing on people's doors. Witnesses describe her looking like she came straight from a horror film and she was calling for help. She'd been beaten, held captive, and SA'd for weeks. The woman was a shocking sight. She was covered in injuries and was wearing a bin bag. Disturbingly, she was gasping for breath as she had a very tight metal collar locked round her neck. It was a nurse who opened the door to her and let her come in. The nurse started to call police, and at this point the woman panicked. She warned her that the captor would kill her and claimed that he had killed her 2 friends. When police got there, the woman explained that a man called Timothy had captured her the month prior. He'd been holding her hostage this whole time. She said he'd been keeping her locked in the basement and had been SAing her. Disturbingly, she told police that he actually had a young son who lived at the house with him. When Timothy had taken his young son to school the one day, she used it as her opportunity to escape. Police made their way to the home of 39-year-old Timothy Haslett Jr. and found the property did in fact have a basement like the woman described. Timothy was arrested and is facing 9 charges including first-degree kidnapping. He's being held on a $3 million bond and faces 5 life sentences. Before his arrest, police were actually called to his address 3 times. Twice they were asked to do welfare checks, and this was from an employer and also family members. Police have searched his home with cadaver dogs and they haven't yet released what they know.
How didn't they find her those times when the police was there? The hell?
Hello.
Skinwalkers are getting weird, bro. It's like a dog, right?
Vultures everywhere. It's odd.
Okay. I don't want to leave. What the fuck? Where the hell are you going? They didn't want to leave. What the fuck? Survivable things, okay. What? How the hell he do that? Yeah, there's no 2 months. That's insane, bro. The hell's in those cases?
In Seattle, Washington, on the 19th of June 2020, a group of friends are using an app called Randonauting. This app gives totally random coordinates for the user to go and follow and then report back what they find. The friends were given coordinates which led them to Alki Beach Pier, where upon arrival they discovered a black suitcase. They go to investigate the suitcase, joking on that it could be filled with money, but as they got closer to it, a disgusting, smelly odour just radiated from it. When they opened the suitcase, it amplified and they described the smell as overwhelming. Upon opening the suitcase, they found that it was not filled with money. However, it did have several things inside that were wrapped up in bin bags. One of the teenagers, being very responsible, decided to call the police and report the findings. When officers arrived, they almost immediately cordoned off the area and asked everyone to leave. This is now a crime scene. Inside the suitcase, they found the dismembered remains of a human body. Searches were carried out all around the area where the suitcase was found, and these searches turned up several more bags, all of which had more dismembered human remains inside. It was established that the bodies of a male and female had been found. 11 days later, their bodies were identified. They had found 27-year-old Austin Wenner and 35-year-old Jessica Lewis. It was determined that both Austin and Jessica had been victims of a beating before being fatally shot. Austin had been shot 7 times and Jessica had been shot once. It was estimated that they had died 10 days prior to being found. Jessica was a mother of 4 who worked caring for disabled adults, and this just reflected the type of person she was. She was described as kind, caring, and just a ray of sunshine. She and Austin had been in a happy relationship for around 8 years, and although her 4 children were not fathered by him, he still loved them and he brought them up as if they were his own. Austin was someone who had a big heart and a love for the outdoors. He loved all things camping, dogs, trucks, country music. They lived together in a room that they rented off of 63-year-old Michael Dudley, and it was in this house that they were last seen alive. Now that investigators knew their victims, they were able to properly start finding out what had happened to them. Phone records show that one of them from the couple had had a phone call with Michael only 7 minutes before their phones shut off and weren't used again. On the night of the murder, a neighbour of Michael's had rang the police saying that she had heard a man pleading, quote, "Please don't do this, just let me leave," before she heard several gunshots. When officers arrived to the house, it was in darkness and there was no movement inside, so they thought no one's home, so they simply turned around and left. On this same night, a new tenant of Michael's arrived at the house. This was 1 hour after police had been there and Michael was home and let her in. She noticed that in one of the rooms it seemed like someone was lay on the floor and not moving, that there was clothes thrown over them in order to try and disguise that they were there. She noticed that this person had a bloody arm and she questioned Michael about it, to which he responded, quote, "My gun worked and his didn't. Now please move along, I have a mess to clean up." She also noted that his glasses were broken and it looked like he had fresh scratch marks on him. On the 19th of August, Michael is arrested and his house is searched. During the search, there was a thick smell of bleach around the house and one of the rooms seemed to have been recently redecorated, having fresh paint on the wall. There were bullet holes in the walls and they also found blood in the room that the new tenant had said she saw someone on the floor. Michael's arrest shocked the community as he portrayed himself to be a very soft, sweet and helpful man, but that was very far from the truth. Michael had a criminal record dating back over 20 years. His record consisted of things such as trafficking, grand theft auto and possession of drugs. His own daughter even applied for a restraining order against him after he sexually assaulted her over a period of 9 years. In December 2022, Michael was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder by a jury. The jury took only 1.5 days to deliberate. It's believed that Michael had murdered Austin and Jessica because they couldn't afford their rent for the next month, and they were paying $1,500 in rent just for 1 room. He was clearly very much taking advantage of them. Only last week, on the 8th of April, Michael was handed a 46-year sentence.
Goes to show you, man, you never truly know somebody. Like I said, he betrayed, he was a caring member of the community, but he had a dark side. Criminal record spanning 20 years. Can't trust anybody in this life, seekers. Sad but true. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, hit that like button, man. Hit that subscribe button as well. Also, follow me on all my social medias, links down below, so we always stay connected. Like I said, guys, I drop these bangers every single day for you guys. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get better. Also, man, like I said, comment down below what can I do to make the videos more better for you guys, what I need to work on, what I need to improve. We're still in the beginning phases right now, but we're going to get there one day, seekers. Trust me. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.